After restoring a file from a backup, the owner of a small company wants to better understand the purpose of permissions. A particular situation occurred, and even though there are permissions on the shared drive, why does the company still not know who deleted the file? The engineer explained that enabling file auditing would help pinpoint all changes to the shared drive and who made them. How would this help prevent the lack of knowing who changed the files? The answer to that question is non-repudiation. Non-repudiation means a person cannot deny doing something such as creating, modifying, or sending a resource. For the company, this would mean enabling file auditing on this file share. An information technology manager audited the company's support tickets and decided to implement a new standard operating procedure. The manager noticed a trend with the tickets, where the majority were for new computer setups. What security control function would the manager's implementation of a new standard operating procedure have? That's directive. A directive control enforces a rule of behavior such as a policy, best practice standard, or standard operating procedure. What component of modern access controls determines the rights a user should have on each resource? That's authorization. Authorization refers to determining what rights users should have on each resource and enforcing those rights. Authorization may involve permissions, individually, group, or role-based. A newly hired Chief Information Security Officer met with the Human Resources Department to discuss how to better secure the company's access to sensitive information. In what way does this meeting fall under the responsibility of the new CISO? Reviewing user permissions. Working with human resources to ensure the proper user permissions for their given role falls under security aspect of the Chief Information Security Officer. An information technology department is growing to a size where there is a need for a new group to manage security. The Chief Executive Officer wants to hire a new executive officer for the role and split it into its own department, separate from the IT department. The CEO should hire for which position? That is CISO. The Chief Information Security Officer is the title of the individual responsible for managing security teams or departments within a company. After a company hires a new Chief Information Security Officer, the Chief Executive Officer requests that the CISO to hire staff for the new team. The purview of the team will be for monitoring and protecting critical information assets throughout the company. What best describes the location of this new team within the structure of the company? SOC, a Security Operations Center, is the team responsible for security-related activities within a company. After a recent server outage, the company discovered an employee accidentally unplugged the power cable from a server housed in an unsecured closet. What security control did the company lack that led to the server outage? That's physical controls. Physical controls such as alarms, gateways, locks, lighting, and security cameras deter and detect access to premises. A newly hired Chief Information Security Officer is implementing the National Institute and Standards and Technology Cybersecurity Framework. What function would help the CISO better develop the company's security policies, such as acceptable use policy, and build out recommendations for security controls? That's identify. The identify function in the National Institute of Standards and Technology Cybersecurity Framework refers to developing security policies and capabilities. The The CISO preparing policies and controls would fall under the identify function. After a server outage due to a security breach, a company has taken several steps to recover from the incident. They have restored critical data from the latest backups and applied urgent security patches to address the exploited vulnerabilities. The security team has updated the incident response plan to incorporate lessons learned from the breach. What category of security control functional type best describes the function of these recent implementations? Corrective. Corrective controls eliminate or reduce the impact of a security policy violation. A corrective control occurs after an attack. In this scenario, these actions aim to directly address the damage caused by the outage and improve the recovery process. An engineer for a small company is trying to explain the importance of security to the company's owner. The owner feels the company does not need permissions added to the shared drive containing highly sensitive information. What security concept means that information can only be read by people who have been explicitly authorized to access it? Confidentiality. With confidentiality, integrity, and availability, also known as the CIA triad, confidentiality means that only people with explicit authorization to access the information can read it. This type of authority involves setting permissions for files and folders. After implementing the National Institute of Standards and Technology Cybersecurity Framework, the Chief Information Security Officer is assessing the company's security posture to identify deficiencies from the framework's recommendations. What process can the CISO run to get a better sense of what the company needs to improve upon? Gap analysis. A CISO would be preparing a gap analysis report. This report will show the defects in the company's current security posture against the NIST security framework or any other baseline security framework. A medium-sized mechanical engineering firm wants to better define the account creation process during the onboarding of new hires. It is looking to ensure that the new hires have the right programs, file permissions, and security controls completed ahead of time through automation. What modern access control implementation would aid the company's account creation process? That's IAM. The company typically implements modern access control as an identity and access management IAM system. The company would want to implement an IAM system to ensure the proper creation of accounts and their associated permissions. A recently terminated employee copied sensitive information from the company's shared drive right before permanently leaving. This employee is what kind of threat to the company? Internal. An insider threat is someone within the company, internal, who intentionally or unintentionally increases risk or takes company data outside the organization's security controls. A construction company that receives several emails with attachments from its vendors ran into an issue with one of the emails it received. A malicious actor created an email with an attachment that appeared to be from a known vendor. As a result, the malicious actor tricked an employee into clicking on the attachment. How did the malicious actor convince the employee to click on the attachment? The actor used an email lure. Sending an email with an attachment with similar wording as the company would expect is an excellent way to get people to click them accidentally. Adding additional content to the email can help add legitimacy to the malicious attachment. An accountant received a phone call from an individual requesting information for an ongoing project. The call came from an unrecognized number, but the individual seemed believable and persuasive. Before giving the information over, what should the accountant protect against? Coercion. Coercion refers to the intimidation of the target with a bogus appeal to authority or penalty, such as getting fired or not acting quickly enough to prevent some dire outcome. The answer is social engineering. Refers to eliciting information from users or getting them to perform some action for the threat actor. A company uses a popular password manager. It noticed unusual breaches in its systems and forced a password reset on all employees' accounts. What is a consideration when using third-party software for any computer function? Every vendor is at risk of threats. There are risks when using any software, including third-party vendor services or software. It is important to analyze a vendor's security posture to protect against breaches. A managed service provider company decided to delay the implementation of new antivirus software for its clients after discovering that the vendor could not patch its software automatically. Why might a company want to avoid software that is unable to update automatically? Because it may not fix newly found vulnerabilities in a timely manner. The ability to automatically update is crucial in the cybersecurity landscape, where new threats emerge rapidly. Antivirus software that cannot update automatically may fail to address these new threats quickly, leaving clients' systems exposed to emerging security risks. An information technology manager is trying to persuade the chief financial officer to sign off on a new support and update contract for the company's virtualized environment. The CFO sees this as a waste of money since the company already has the environment up and running. The IT manager explained to the CFO that the company will no longer receive security updates to protect the environment. What describes the level of hazard posed by not keeping the system up to date? Risk. Risk is the level of hazard posed by vulnerabilities and threats. When a company identifies a vulnerability, it calculates the risk as the likelihood of exploitation by a threat actor and the impact of a successful exploitation. A large multimedia company is in the process of creating a new marketing campaign for a soon-to-be-released movie. However, before releasing the campaign, the company noticed an increase in fake accounts mimicking it online with a similar-looking campaign. What could the company do to mitigate the issue? Check for brand impersonation. Brand impersonation occurs when the threat actor commits resources to accurately duplicating a company's logos and formatting to make a phishing message or farming website visually compelling. An accountant received a phone call from an individual requesting information for an ongoing project. The individual stated to be from a known vendor the company is working with. Before giving information over, the accountant should protect against what? Impersonation. Impersonation simply means pretending to be someone else. Impersonation is possible when the target cannot easily verify the attacker's identity, such as over the phone or via email. A construction contractor received a phone call from a prospective client that the contractor's website looked off from what they expected. After an investigation, the construction company discovered that the prospect visited a similar-looking website with a slightly different URL. What caused the client to go to the incorrect website? Typo squatting. Typo squatting means that the threat actor registers a domain name very similar to a real one, hoping that users would not notice the difference and assume they are browsing a trusted site. A large multimedia company is experiencing a distributed denial of service (DDoS) attack that has led the company's platform to become unresponsive. Customers are submitting tickets complaining that they can no longer access the platform and cannot complete their work. What best describes what the company is going through? Service disruption. Service disruption prevents an organization from working as it usually does. This disruption could involve an attack on its website, such as a denial of service attack or using malware to block access to servers and employee workstations. A project manager's assistant received an email requesting information for an ongoing project. The email attempted to convince the assistant that the project would fail to complete on time if they did not receive the information. Before giving the information over, what should the assistant protect against? Consensus technique. Coercion or the use of urgency refers to the intimidation of the target with a bogus appeal to authority or penalty, such as getting fired or not acting quickly enough to prevent some dire outcome. An outside non-government affiliated group posted a message online claiming responsibility for shutting down the pipeline of a large oil and gas company. The group claims to have performed this through a vulnerability in the company's supervisory control and data acquisition equipment that controls the flow through the pipes. What best describes this group of attackers? Hacktivists. Hacktivists might attempt to use data exfiltration to obtain and release confidential information to the public domain, perform service disruption attacks, or deface websites to spread disinformation. A large multinational software company experienced a ransomware attack. After running a forensic audit and recovering data from backups, the company found that it was an organized, illicit, non-political group that attempted to extort it. What describes the attack that occurred to the company? Cybercrime. Cybercrime is the overarching term for the organized criminal activity occurring online. An employee reported seeing an individual outside the office drop a few thumb drives. The employee grabbed those devices and brought them to the information technology department. After conducting forensics on the devices using air-gapped machines, the IT team determined that the individual was trying to trick employees into plugging the devices into their computers to steal information. What was the malicious actor attempting on an unsuspecting employee? The actor used a physical lure. A physical lure can occur when an attacker leaves something such as a removable flash drive in an area in which a targeted person would use the device in the work environment. An employee unknowingly clicked on a malicious attachment but did not notice any issues right away and assumed nothing happened. A short while later, the Security Operations Center received a notification of a virus attempting to access an IP address outside the company. What is the malicious attachment most likely doing? Attempting to create a remote connection. The software in the scenario is attempting to make a remote connection to download more malicious software, exfiltrate data, or allow the device to become part of a botnet. The governmental organization in charge of managing the personal records of the country's military service members reported that another country had accessed its database. Who best describes the adversary that breached the personal records database? Nation-state. Nation-state actors are the root cause of many attacks, particularly on energy, health, and electrical systems. The goals of state actors are primarily disinformation and espionage for strategic advantage. An accountant's payable clerk received a company-wide email requesting them to click the link within the email to update their personal information in the Human Resources portal. At first glance, the email appears to be sent from a legitimate company address. Before giving the information over, what should the clerk protect against? Phishing. Phishing is a combination of social engineering and spoofing. It persuades or tricks the target into interacting with the malicious resource disguised as a trusted one. A large financial firm recently brought its information technology back into house. It made this decision after facing issues with its third-party vendor not properly securing its systems from outside threats. Which of the following was the primary consideration for the financial firm's return to in-house IT services? To reduce the risk of supply chain attacks. By bringing things in-house, a company can limit risk in relation to supply chain attacks. A local business received numerous complaints from frequent repeat customers about fraud occurring after they ordered delivery through the company's website. Even though it was the legitimate website, what type of attack did the consumers become victims of? Watering hole attack. A watering hole attack relies on a group of targets that use a unsecured third-party website, allowing the attacker to infect a company's computers. A security engineer discovered that an active employee copied sensitive information from the company's shared drive and sold it online. What kind of actor describes this employee? An insider threat. An insider threat is someone within the company who intentionally or unintentionally increases risk or takes company data outside the organization's security controls. A large organization's security operations center noticed in its extended detection and response antivirus software that a phished email gained access to the company ticketing system, then to the virtual private network software, and lastly to the company's file share. What did the Security Operations Center find? A threat vector. A threat vector is the path that a threat actor used to execute a data exfiltration, service disruption, or disinformation attack. Sophisticated threat actors will make use of multiple vectors.